Pulkit's father has called him a Seedha Saadha Balak who is totally focused on his business.
वो सीधा साधा बालक है, अपनी काम से काम ध्यान रखता है, बिजनेस में अपना काम है उसका.
But going by the testimonies of his former employees, nothing is so Seedha Saadha in his business, and neither is he a Balak. He is a fully grown man who has been up to some really unholy business in this holy town of Rishikesh at his shady resort Vanantra that his ex-employees now say was always an adda of sex, drugs and prostitution. Yes, it looks like Pulkit Arya was sitting on a ticking time bomb, and it was only a matter of time before the lid was blown off on the heady mix of sharab and shabab that was traded under the garb of harmless hospitality. What is even more shocking is that another girl named Priyanka has also gone missing, just like Ankita, from Pulkit's resort, and ironically, she was also from Pauri Garhwal. Yes, the same place from where Ankita came. Just like Ankita, she too worked at Vanantra resort, and many believe she would have met the same fate as poor Ankita at the hands of Pulkit Arya, who is notorious in the region, by the way, for his misdeeds that are now tumbling out of the closet faster than views on Dhruv Rathi's videos against the BJP. At the time of Priyanka's disappearance, Pulkit Arya had alleged that she had run away with his money and other valuables from the resort. But sadly, it is only now that people are actually talking about Priyanka. We wonder though where her family is. Some sources say that BJP, that is currently on the defensive and in a total firefighting mode in the state of Uttarakhand, because this Baap Beta Jodi were associated with the party, they have actually asked the police to investigate the alleged disappearance of Priyanka as well. But coming back to Pulkit's ex-employees that are still alive, by the way, this couple that has come forward in the media is standing witness to a lot of his Kali Kartoots. These two former employees of Vanantra have their own horror story to tell that has exposed their ex-boss Pulkit Arya in a detailed press conference. Many have questioned their timing, but given the scandalous revelations around Ankita Bhandari's death, none of this comes as a surprise. At least not to me. Tell me on Instagram DM if it surprises you. Now, this couple has come forward without disclosing their true identity and stating that they worked at the resort from May to July this year. They said women employees at the resort were abused and mistreated if they refused to serve the turkey VIPs, and at times even the owner Pulkit, who they say was quite the lech too. This woman and her husband both used to work there and are now telling the media how they were abused and tortured at Vanantra resort while they were employed there for 3 months. They said they had applied after coming across the job openings at Vanantra on a website. The resort had placed a job opening for a front desk manager and a helper, for which this couple contacted Pulkit Arya. Pulkit of course hired them after an interview, but within a few days they realized that this resort was shadier than the Hotel Decent from Jab We Met. They said they figured out that bad things were happening here, and they also noticed that Pulkit Arya was very abusive, especially towards women. However, they said initially, when they were new joinees, they often saw him abusing his other employees, but soon it was their turn to be blasted for no apparent reason. In fact, the woman says that Arya's wife Swati had even warned her about her husband's buri aadate and told her that this place was not good for a Sharif Ghar ki ladki like her. So then this woman spoke to her husband, and obviously they both needed the job, so they decided to give it some more time before doing what Navjot Singh Sidhu does to a party every few years: quit. In fact, in what could spell big trouble for Pulkit Arya and his two punters is the fact that this ex-employee couple is saying that all the allegations leveled against him in the Ankita Bhandari case are true. The woman said very bad things used to happen with young girls at the resort. Pulkit used to abuse us in the most vulgar language, and he would bring a lot of girls to the resort. She said Pulkit would ask her not to register the entries of these girls or any shady couples who visited the resort. She said Pulkit used to get very friendly with his guests. He used to bathe with them in the swimming pool and even arrange for ganja and other drugs for them. Oh well, he should update that in his Make My Trip profile, by the way. But anyway, going by her testimony, Pulkit Arya stooped to such depravity that he had even started stealing his guests' liquor bottles and blaming his own employees for the theft. He did not stop there. He humiliated all of us in front of the guests to prove his authority. This is what this employee has said. When asked about the other accused in Ankita's murder, like the resort manager Saurabh Bhaskar and Pulkit's friend Ankit Gupta, who also works there, she said both were hand in glove with him. She believes even she was targeted by Pulkit once when she was called to take his dinner to his room, but somehow she dodged that by saying that her shift has ended and she has gone home. He was drunk at that night, and this was it for me, she said, adding that they decided to quit after this incident. However, their exit from Vanantra was not that easy. They left the job after a month, but Pulkit asked them to rejoin by luring them with increased salary. They rejoined But soon, all the horrors of his behavior came back. She claims they were abused and not paid their salaries for a month and a half. The woman's husband said they were accused of stealing a speaker from the resort, and he was even beaten up in front of the rest of the staff. They were accused the Rishikesh police, in fact, of siding with Pulkit, and said that the police instead accused them of lying and threatened them with third degree in the lockup if they didn't tell the truth. Ultimately, this couple was made to sign an apology letter and allowed to leave the resort, after which they never returned to this hotel of horrors. The man in this couple claims that he was even held hostage by Pulkit. There are a few more criminal exploits of Pulkit Arya that we have detailed in our previous video, but this time with Ankita's death, his luck seems to have totally run out. Her post-mortem has revealed a blunt force trauma, giving rise to the suspicion that she may have been killed before they dumped her body into the Chilla Canal. In fact, did you know that after the alleged murder of Ankita that Pulkit has now confessed to, he actually tried his best to mislead the police and implicate Ankita's friend Push, who she was in touch with. But Push had a strong alibi, and there were damning testimonies against Pulkit, who was one of the last people that Ankita was seen alive with. So what kind of thoughts come to your mind when you hear such sinister plots that are all very great to be binged on Netflix, but equally disturbing and scary, when you know it has happened for real and destroyed lives in a town where you would least expect that to happen? Has any of you ever stayed at Vanantra Resort? If yes, then please let us know if you witnessed anything amiss. You can let me know this directly on Instagram, which is @Reviewron, and on Facebook, you can DM me. Like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon if you find our videos worth it. Especially share this video if you find that the information here is important. But as always, even if you don't do any of these things, thank you so much for watching this one. Please take care of yourself and those around you. Jai Hind.